I've been doing, here, wait, let me see what's on the docket here first. I've been trying to figure out how to put like rings around groups of contours
Okay.
to do, I've been doing contour maps, but I've just been using the like normal old, old. Maybe that's, I've just been trying to figure that out and I haven't had a lot of luck.
Okay, so.
You know what I mean? Like
So you want a buffer contours at a certain distance.
So make like a polygon of that elevation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do multiples at the same time?
Yeah.
You should be able to just use the buffer tool to do that.
Okay.
And then depending on, I mean, if you wanted to get intricate and do multiple rings around that buffer, like buffer it at 10 feet, 12, 20 feet, 30 feet, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They get and do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
You could either do a batch tool on that batch the buffer tool.
Okay.
So buffer it this, export it as this shape file. Buffer it at this, export it as this shape file. But in the buffer tool, there is rings that you can actually set per the attributes in that shape file. So if the contour shape file has, you know, a column for, you know, 20 foot and it has 20, it will take that 20 and buffer it at 20. So there's multiple ways of doing that.
Gotcha.
I think for some reason, I think there's also a concentric buffer. You've used the, I'm already into getting off the schedule. Yeah.
Is that by the concentric, you tuck in the multiple ring buffer tool or?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
one I use a lot.
Yeah, I use them. I don't do a lot of multiple buffers at the same time. It's usually one at a time, just so I don't screw them up, kind of thing. But yeah, the buffer tool is probably the place to start first.
Okay.
And look at the options in that buffer tool, because in Pro it's gotten a lot more sophisticated than it was in ArcMap or even Pro 2.
Gotcha.
Don't know who's on the call. If we're talking, if you guys want to ask questions, remote people, please do. If not, you can just listen along. Okay, so we're already on it. We'll go over the buffer. We'll take a look at the buffer tool real quick. Yeah, you got one.
I got one.
And since there's 4 people with people virtually, we can diverge to what's on there if you want. Let's start. Hello, I'm Andrew Fay. I think you all know that. I work for Wacom. So if I was going to buffer this particular thing, I would. There's a bunch of ways to do it. There are geoprocessing tools for buffers. Buffer 3D. Graphic buffer, create buffer, pairwise buffers. And if you open them, you can see what like a pairwise buffer is. All I did was go over the question mark there. And if you click on that, it'll open the browser and go to the website with more information than this. And there's lots of ways of doing that. And then lots of options. So try this out. I don't see a multiple on this one. There is one that can do multiples.
The one I use is a separate tool. Is the one right below that, the multiple ring.
Multiple ring buffer tool?
Yeah.
Okay.
But as with anything, there's always 3 different ways to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you just have to know what the terminology is to find it.
Yes.
I still go to Google every once in a while. It's like, what's the tool that does this? And it takes me a while to pick that name. And it's like, okay, that like iterations. It's like, I will forget what that word is and I have to go find it. It's like, as soon as I know it, it's easy to find in geoprocessing. There's also a buffer tool up in these tools in the editing toolbar. Which is, I think it's the same kind of tool, but it's simplified.
Okay.
And you can do like 10
Oh, it does
foot,
have range there.
turn on the unlock, 10 foot, and it's like, okay, I want a bunch of rings, and then down here is the preview, and it will, what? Oh, it does not. Let's do 10 foot, I wouldn't be able to see it. Let's do 200 foot. And now you can see the rings. 10 foot.
Well, yeah.
And that's just a preview of it to see what. Now, don't do the preview if you're doing a ton of these, because it'll just crank away and it's like, what is it doing? It's like, yeah, you've got preview on and there's 20,000 buffers. So that's a very easy way of doing it. And if you dissolve them all, when it says dissolve, like if I buffer 1 and 2, those 2 rings will dissolve together. They won't dissolve all the rings together,
Gotcha.
but those rings, the 200 foot rings for the first ring will dissolve together. So it's one ring. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
But start with those tools and you should be good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, let's get back to this. Yeah, I'm Andrew Fay. This is ArcGIS update. Yeah. Content today, all this stuff. ArcMap is going out. Like I've been. This particular presentation is about 7 years old, and I just update it every year. ArcMap is going out. It's not going to ever be updated, and it's going to lose support, mature support on last March. But it's not necessarily going away, but you can't call them up and get support, which you couldn't do anyways. You had to call, because of the NRCS licensing, you couldn't call up ESRI without paying them anyway. So we couldn't have that anyway. So you can still use it. And I do every once in a while. For on Pro, if you go to services up in the cloud, some of the, county, city, whatever, in Pro, you can't download some of them. In ArcMap, you bring up those same services, sometimes you can download them. So it's like, sometimes I use ArcMap for different things. If you need these, both ArcMap and Pro, Bobby Birkin at NRCS is our contact. Or you can just contact me and I can get them. But you don't need to anymore, because you can just go to their website, their box account, you just contact me and put it up there. I send you to the link and you can download it. Technically, we're supposed to be sending him a spreadsheet of all the installs that we have. None of us do that. And I don't think he really wants to do it. He probably does it when he has to as well, when one of his bosses tells him to do it. Hopefully he's not on this call. Yeah. And then there's Pro, which is the replacement for ArcMap, as you all probably know. We're on version 3.3. .NET, I put a dot, the word dot, but it's actually a period there instead. 8 must be installed, so you have to download that before you install 3. If you download 3, run the install, put in your admin password, it will say right away. It's like, oh no, you need .NET 8. It doesn't check before you put in the admin password. And then you got to go install it and re-download. Sometimes you have to re-download and put it in. Yeah, pet peeve, yeah. The reason why they created Pro, the biggest reason they created Pro, was it runs on multiple processors. ArcMap only runs on one processor, because it was built when everyone only had one processor. and they couldn't make it work on multiple processes, so they built Pro with better menu systems and all that kind of stuff. Well, better is relative, of course. But it has the ribbon menu and that kind of stuff. But my biggest thing about Pro is that they brought back was the multiple layouts. In ArcView, which was the predecessor to ArcMap, that had multiple layouts. ArcMap did not, but Pro does. And so for one farm plan, I have 6 different layouts. I can have one project instead of 6 different projects. Integrates with AGOL really well. ArcMap is kind of clunky with your username and password and all that kind of stuff. With Pro, you can just go to the catalog and search your settings. You can search everything, essentially everything online. Ribbon menus, multiple layouts, like I said, but you do need an AGOL account. I think everyone here has an AGOL account. If you don't, get a hold of me. So some of the things new with Pro that I've found. They started presentations, well, they upgraded it. It's sort of like PowerPoint for Pro, so you can set different, like a layout. It's sort of like a layout, but set up for presentations. And you can set up different what's been turned on for that presentation, for that particular slide, what in the layout or the contents is turned on. So when you go to that presentation, it will turn on those contents, and you can do it sort of like a PowerPoint presentation.
Is each layout like a slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's formatted for a slide layout.
Gotcha.
I've never used it. I've never needed to, but it is somewhat new. PDF maps. This is a big thing that I only found out a few weeks ago, because they actually put out an email about it. You can now natively take PDFs and bring them into ArcMap.
Oh, wow.
And you don't have to turn them into an image and georeference them. So if you created a map 5 years ago that's georeferenced and you exported it from ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro, you can bring that map natively, just drag and drop it, and because it has been georeferenced already, it'll drop right onto the map and be georeferenced. Very handy. I'm going to like that. Speaking of which, everyone exports every map that they create into a PDF, correct? Yes? Date it and everything. Because ArcPro, things change over 5 years. Data sets change, so it may not look the same. So always export that PDF. I found this one, the radio buttons, actually last week. I didn't know this was a thing, because they sent out an email again. You could, instead of checkboxes, like if I group something together down here, if I group all my contours together, I can right click on that group and switch it from checkboxes to a radio button. Only one of them can be turned on at a time. So my contours, my 2 foot, my 5 foot, my 20 foot, my 100 foot, only one of them at a time can be turned on. I can easily switch it back. So instead of having to click one checkbox and then the other checkbox to turn one off and turn one on, it'll be, I just hit the radio button and the other one turns off. Very handy. There are new field types in ArcGIS Pro. You can see some of them down here in the lower left. Extended dates and times goes into the microseconds. Not that we need microseconds, but it is possible. You can also, before it was date and time. Now it can be date only or time only, which is very handy because I hated it. It always defaulted to the 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. or something like that.
That was
Yeah. So now you can switch it over to date only, which I may be doing for our water quality data. And then you can do a timestamp offset. So some research projects will use UTC instead of local. If it's a global thing, you want to use UTC, but then you can offset it so it's on your time as well. And then the big integer is you can get more than, what is it, 63 million in the integers. Now you can go higher than that. And I think I've only ran into that problem once or twice, but when I ran into it, it's like, ah, shit. So, and I had to turn it into a text so I could actually fit the number in there. So now you can go really big. Oriented imagery. Sounds kind of strange, but here's what I'm talking about. So if you take a photo, you can actually put in, okay, where was I facing? So if it's a certain type of photo and it's geolocated, it has information where it was up. It was pointed southwest by, or it's usually by a degree, and you can show it on the map. And that's what this, cone is for right here. So I don't know if it'll ever be handy, but maybe, who knows? If you do a lot of photos out in the field, it might be very handy.
We make aspect maps.
Yep.
Land orientation, so that might
Mm-hmm.
come in there.
Okay, ArcGIS Online. AGOL, sharing maps and data with the public. I know Joe, well, who knows, Joe needs it. I don't know who else is still on the line. Joe is the only one. He knows about ArcGIS Online. Sharing groups, that's the security feature in AGOL or AGO, depending on how you want to do it. And then there is a new map viewer. It came out like 3 years ago or so, 3 or 4 years ago. It will, if you create a new map, it'll default to that. But if you created old apps and you open that map up again and save it, it goes over to the new map viewer automatically, and then the app will break. So make sure you're using the classic viewer if you've got an old application through Web App Builder. You're using the classic instead of the new map. And I've actually gone to putting classic at the end or new map viewer, so I distinguish between which one they are. We've had issues with our water quality map because it defaulted over, and then all of our pop-ups broke. It's like, why is this happening? It's like, oh, it's the new map viewer, and I had to go back and save it to a old classic and fix stuff that broke. The web app builder, like I was talking about, that's kind of the old style of doing it. Now it's experience builder. It uses different Java packages, more up to date. It has more features, but it does essentially the same thing, just has more features. There's also instant apps, I think, which is sort of like experience builder, but it's quicker, less work that needs to go into it. It's like, I want something quick, but you don't have as many features that you can put into it. So it kind of depends on what you're going to use it for, which one you choose. If you want to get intricate, you use experience builder. If you want to just a quick map that you want to show off to someone, use the instant app. Don't use web app builder unless you've already built something, because it's an older version and it'll slowly get phased out. Collect data when you're collecting data in the field maps, field designer, and survey 1, 2, 3. You look like you have a question.
Yeah, what was that other one you were talking about yesterday? It was like, use an iPad.
Okay, so that's just for iPads, not ArcGIS Online at all. No integration whatsoever. It's called Touch GIS. $300 a year or $150 if you give me a call and I send you the email and link to get the app off kind of thing. And it's built directly for the iPad with no integration into ArcGIS Online whatsoever. You can export shape files and you can export KMLs, and we use that for site plan. Like I'm going out for a site collection, I'm just collecting data on that particular site. It's great for that. Field maps, field and survey 1, 2, 3, not so good for just one-off kind of site maps. For I'm doing a survey of the entire county, it's great for that. I would not use the Touch GIS for that. I would use this because I can go all over the county and get and collect different information. But because we use it for site maps, we can export that KML, save it in that person's folder, and open it in Google Maps years later, because it's KML. That's the Google Earth's default system, KML and KMZ, which is a KML that's zipped. But yeah, that is a outside of ArcGIS field. Then contact me if you need. Field maps and designer. Designer is somewhat new. Like I said, collecting data in the field. This is if you're doing a complicated data collection in the field. You're collecting polygons, you're going out there and doing lots of different things. Versus what I'm going to probably show next is survey 1, 2, 3. I need a point or a line or a polygon, and that's all I need, and I'm off to the next one. It kind of depends on how you're collecting the data. If you're giving it to someone to collect data out in the field, like the public or some newbie that doesn't know GIS, use survey 1, 2, 3. Make it as simple as possible for them. Field maps designer allows for a lot more editing of how the person in the field will see the data, how they will use it. You have more capacity to make that user experience better for that person in the field. And then there are smart forms, if you answer this question, these questions show up, and these questions don't show up, kind of thing. Dynamic questions, yeah. At this point, field maps, you can only get on iOS 14.5 and above. And why I say that is I have iPads that can't go past 9 because they're like 12 years old. So it's like, make sure that you can use it out in the field before you get some, you don't build the field maps and then go to your old iPad and it won't show up. On most of our smartphones are new enough that it won't matter, but some people like us, we have really old iPads that we'd love to use, but we can't with field maps. We can still use it with Survey 1, 2, 3 and a browser, but not Survey 1, 2, 3 the app. And the difference between Survey 1, 2, 3, the browser and the app is the app you can download stuff and keep it to go out in the field and go out there, and it has more functionality. Oh look, Survey 1, 2, 3. San Jose, California. I don't know who that is. Again, field data collection, I went over why you would use this. SurveyMonkey with geographic locations. And they've added polygons and lines about 3 years ago, I think. Most people still use it for points, from what I understand. You can build one really quickly online, just through the ArcGIS Online interface. And then after that, you can, if you want to get more intricate, make dynamic questions and put in more drop-down menus and that kind of stuff, you can bring it over and use the desktop app. Is it on here? It's not. So there's a desktop app that you download that will grab that survey from ArcGIS Online, bring it down, and it's stored in an Excel sheet. I don't know why they wanted to do this, but it uses an Excel sheet to build that survey. And there's a whole bunch of things. There's lots of videos online how to do this, but you can get really intricate with your Excel sheet and your survey, which you can't do on ArcGIS Online. They've added more features to the online version, So you have some of them now, but it's still, a lot of people will bring it down to that Excel sheet and then upload it again and for people to use. There are apps that make it easier to use. So that we already covered that. Story maps. Telling stories using maps, text, images, and other multimedia. You can add pictures, YouTube videos, graphs from Microsoft Excel, anything that can go into an iframe. You can add tons of things to story maps and get a story out there that you may want to show. Like I've helped a bunch of people that instead of doing a grant report, they put it into the grant, we're going to do a story map. And it works out great, and then nobody uses it. You know, you do your report, you might do a presentation, and then it just sits there on our AGL account. And it's like, whatever. But then if you keep it updated, if it's a project that you're continually updating, it's a great way to get that information out. And it's not terribly hard to make. It just takes a long time, because just like a report, oh, we're going to do this. Oh, I need to tweak this. I need to tweak that. I need to make another map. Oh, I need to go do that. It takes a long time to do. It's easy to create, a long time to finish. And then there's tons and tons of story maps out there nowadays. If you want, you can search out these. These, I don't even know if these are alive anymore, but my favorite was the Glen Canyon one, which is the bottom map there. And those orange points are now underwater. So in 1970, they flooded it with a dam, and someone went out and actually took pictures of some of the native campsites. There was like an actual bread oven in the rock wall, and it's now underwater. So they went out and they did it on their own. They took these pictures, and back in the early, like 2012 or so, they actually went through and geolocated those old pictures just by, you know, memory and what it shows in the background and that kind of stuff. And they made a map, and you can go through this story map and look at the pictures. It was quite an interesting thing, and it's all underwater now. Dashboards are very handy to get lots of information across really quickly. Most people have seen that dashboard, the lower left one. It was during the COVID-19, who was it? One of the Johns Hopkins University. This was the one that was all over social media, news outlets, and that kind of stuff. And it showed and it's just an easy way to get the information to the public. I think we've gone through Experience Builder and Instant Apps. Drone to Map and Site Scan. So Drone to Maps is it's processing drone images on your own desktop, and is an ESRI product. I think it can do infrared stuff as well. Yeah, the back end. They are leasing the back end of it from Pix4D.
Oh.
So it uses or a version of Pix4D, and you don't have to spend as much because Pix4D is pricey. It doesn't do as much as Pix4D, but it does a lot. But it also costs $1,400 for a license. But if you can get a grant to pay for it, doesn't matter, and then we can share it around the state. Because I can, I want to do some processing of an image, and then I can switch it to someone else to do their processing of the image, and so on and so forth. So if someone buys it, everyone has access to it if they need it. Nobody's taking me up on that. But it is, I've played with it. You can get, if you really wanted to test it out, I can call up our ESRI rep, and they can give us like a 30-day trial. Okay, send me an email and I'll set it up.
Okay.
And it's pretty good, and it's been like 4 or 5 years since I've tried it, so it's been updated since then. And then the site scan is a pre-flight mission control kind of thing. They've essentially tried to make it a one-stop shop kind of thing. I haven't used site scan yet. Site scan, end-to-end cloud-based drone mapping software. So you might be the first person to try that in the group. Insights is an analytics for ArcGIS Online. We don't have a license for this. I had a trial version for, well, it was on my on my account for like 2 years, and I barely used it. It's essentially, if you want to do some major analytics, it's a great option, but I could also do a lot of that through the dashboards. It was actually easier to do it through the dashboards than it was for analytics. I don't see a lot of people using this. We tried to, the license I had, I tried to use it for our water quality stuff, and it just wasn't working. So we ended up going with Tableau, which is a not ESRI product at all. And it's a lot more robust and easier to use. Tableau's massive and complicated as hell if you want it to be. But it does the analytics and gives you a very user-friendly interface to, it's like, okay, between these dates, show this, it changes the graph. And Insights does the same kind of thing, just not as nice. Living Atlas, a lot of people don't know about this for some reason. It's just out there. People post data to it, USGS, NRCS, everyone from around the world, essentially they have some data and they post it. NASA, wildfire stuff. And it's just, you can go in there and search for data, and you can do it directly from Pro and search that data. I usually do it through the browser because I can figure out which one I actually need. And then I go to Pro and put in the actual title and bring it in to Pro. It's just simpler to do. If you're searching for a whole bunch of things through a whole bunch of things, it's easier to do it on the browser and then go to Pro. ESRI training, there's tons of training on my ESRI. Each one of you have a my ESRI account, and there, if you want to do any tutorials on any of their add-ons, extensions, ArcPro, I think they may still have Smart Map on there, but if you want to learn something, a specific thing, you can go into my ESRI and learn. And there's if you go to the CTD, I think I've got like 13, a course or a bunch of courses on there that it just, the link from CTD will bring you over to my ESRI, and is like migrating to ArcGIS Pro from ArcMap is on there. Just some of the basic stuff. But if you're into GIS, you don't need the basic stuff. You can still go in there and learn, you know, how to do watershed mapping kind of thing. And then if it's not on my ESRI, YouTube is your friend. Because most of the colleges out there will just post their stuff to YouTube, and you can go through their class, at least to get an understanding. It's not directly for what you're using, but you get an understanding about what's going on. Questions?
The training list is helpful because I can give it to new employees and say, do these 3 or 4.
Yep.
And that's a lot faster than having to dig through my ESRI and be like, which ones did we do
Yep.
last time?
Yeah, essentially that's why I created that group. It's like, yeah, I'll just create this group and here's a link, here's a link, here's a link, instead of it's this one and this one and this one every time someone asks. And when you do, when CTD puts out a survey, what do you want to see? Right in there, I want more GIS training on farm planning, or whatever it is that you want GIS training, so that they can take that to the commission and say, can we create a training course? And Jan and I have been back and forth on getting something up to do that, and I may be doing it this fall. I don't know. To actually create some YouTube videos that I will go through how we do a farm plan. It's like, you know, step by step, and then I can update it as ArcPro changes. And then if that works, we can do more into like spatial analyst stuff, the stuff I used to do training for the advanced GIS stuff. Or you can say, I want in-person training, and then I get to travel. The last time we did that was COVID. The week after we got locked down, I was supposed to have a training in Spokane, I think it was. But that was ArcMap. Now everyone's pro. So, any other questions? Any questions at all of GIS? I don't care. It could be IT questions for all I care. How many people are you collecting? Are you guys collecting information through ArcGIS Online a lot?
So we,
Go ahead.
yeah, we've been using for monitoring, we've been using online, mostly field maps, but for DSP monitoring stuff, several different things. You know, looking at the usually like countywide, like croplands, livestock operations, and then for our in-stream projects, we've been taking a picture of each structure and uploading it to the point every year, so we can see that structure over time, and then we can see like, oh, half of that structure is no longer there, but we have a picture of what it was before, and then we can say, then we can make a decision on if it's worthwhile rebuilding that, or maybe that either like we really need that because it's important, or that blew out because, you know, and it's not ever gonna stay there, but it gives us that history.
That's a
Each
good way to do it,
location. It's really good. I need to update it. It's probably like 2 years behind at this point, but I had a map of those that I could send to BPA, and they can go click on the point and see the structure throughout time when they're like really confused about what we're talking about.
That's a great way to use it.
They kind of asked for something along those lines, and so that's why we did it, and they really liked it.
Yeah, keep doing it, and you're gonna have 10, 15 years worth of data, and that alone may be able to get you some funding to do other stuff.
Yeah, and part of it is actually refining some of the adaptive management contract language. So like they were a little hesitant for like our PALs and BDAs, like if we're still working on them, like 6, 7 years later, maybe this isn't something they want to be continuing to pour money into.
Yeah.
So they capped us at like, I don't know what it was, like maybe 10% of the total structures that we can go back and put in the next, like work on.
Yeah.
And so if we can kind of see that over time with those pictures, we can write that adaptive management plan a little bit more detailed.
Yeah, and they can see what's actually being done out in the field.
Yeah, and so if we go add stuff to it, you'll see it grow, or you'll see it be missing.
Nice.
Or the water and the way it's, you can see where the water, it was going this direction and now it's split 2 years later. Yeah.
So that what they call it, the imagery, where it was pointing, come in handy for you then.
I know that you can you can use you've always been able to take the point data and use that angled point.
But now it's integrated, so it'll actually show you on the map where.
And that might be a little bit better. It'd be easier for people to wrap their head around it. Like, which way is?
And especially if there's multiple pictures from the same point, it's like this one's pointing this way, this one's pointing this way, kind of thing. Yeah, cool.
How do you turn that on?
I don't know. I haven't used it yet. I just know they said, oh, this is now a feature on it. So yeah, we haven't had a project. I look up at when Wade comes up. It's like, what's been new in the last couple of years? It's like I go through it. Some of the things I use, some of the things I will test out to see where it's at. But I'm just here to give information. Yeah.
So I've been using field maps a lot. We've had a huge project right now. Getting a bunch of, I think it's 27 growers over like 13,000 acres off well water. The big aquifer project we've got going on.
Okay.
And they said if we don't take them off the aquifer, it's gonna be dry in 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's like,
Is this the listen?
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I just finished last week, meeting with all the growers and using field maps, literally every circle, recording practices and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've been using it a lot.
That's good. I don't get, I can see what you guys are all doing on ArcGIS Online, but I don't know what you guys are all
Yeah.
doing. It's like, I know people are using it, but I don't know how they're using it. It's like, it's good to know people are actually using it and not building a field maps, go test it out for like a week, and then it sits there for 2 or 3 years. It's like, this is why I send out every year, hey, go delete stuff you don't need.
Yeah. It has gotten a little bit easier to set up field maps. There's still some hangups, but they've fixed some of them.
Have you used the designer yet?
No, I haven't gotten into that.
Let me know how it goes for you, if you would, because
Yeah,
we don't do a lot of
field
field map stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still, I don't know, we just set up a field map recently, I guess. And it's just like one layer that messed it up, but they did fix the issue with projection. They will allow you to have stuff in different projection systems. They all have to be the same for that map.
Yeah.
But it doesn't all have to be a web locator.
Yeah, I tend to just, anytime I throw stuff up, I try to put it into WebMarket because of all the. I started using it in 2014. Yeah, during the, it's like, we just happened to get a ArcGIS account org, and then we had the wildfires like 6 months later. And I went out on the post wildfire stuff and I used it, and it was hours and hours of trying to do workarounds to get around all that kind of stuff. And a lot of that has been done away with by, automating or asking you questions or something like that. So it's great to hear that it's a lot easier to do and it's getting better. But we are a small conservation district. We're not ESRI. Have you guys gone to the ESRI user conference before? If you get a chance, it is very interesting because from all over the world, people come in and you can see projects, and it's like, I didn't even know you could do that with GIS. But if you do want to go, plan it in December because it starts in July, and within 5 minutes of it being, this is the week we're going to do the user conference, every single government rated hotel room is booked up. And it's in San Diego, so it's really nice usually. But I've gone twice, and I've come away. I go thinking, am I going to get anything out of this? And every time I come back, it's like, dude, we need to implement this. We need this. We need that, because it's a week long of learning stuff you've never learned, and you go to a session that has nothing to do with conservation, but that tool they used, that was awesome. I'm gonna use that. That's what it's used for. And then you get to meet people in conservation from all over the world, and you end up sitting right beside someone from Washington. I sat literally, I came into the opening, sat down, and a guy sat next to me, and it turned out to be Perry from WSDA. I'm like, Perry Beal. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. And you just, it's expensive to go. I think it's like $1,400 for the ticket. It's a week long kind of thing. And then you got to pay for hotel and that kind of stuff. But it is really nice to go and just networking alone and learning new stuff. It's like this, but on a 20,000 people scale. The amount of money they put into it, it's worth it. And go leave yourself either the beginning or the end to explore San Diego a little bit. If you get lucky, you can go to was it San Diego Padres game? Every time I've gone, they got games outside, away somewhere. But yeah, it's nice to go.
Yeah, check that out.
Any other questions? Joe, Rose, you guys got any questions? Nope. They got no questions. Are they even there?
One, I don't know what the answer is, have you had to deal with NRCS's integrated erosion tool? And I asked you about it yesterday because I'm pretty sure my problem is that I need that newer version of ArcMap, but,
So is this the one that only works on ArcMap?
yeah.
Yeah, I think the latest, the last time we worked with it was on 10.7, I think. But
Okay,
they might have upgraded it since then. And NRCS has this great way of building it on a system that's gonna be going out of date.
yeah. But I haven't needed it for a few years.
Yeah.
I had it working and it was really useful for my farm plans.
Yeah.
And then I just haven't needed it.
Yep.
And
And then
I
it broke.
yeah, and then I kind of got around it, but I'm not really that great at Russell, so like IET is a lot easier.
I haven't used it. Some of the people in my office have. I don't think they use it much anymore.
Okay.
They essentially, because we don't use art, well, the people that are doing farm planning nowadays aren't using art.
Yeah,
They're newer, so they're all using Pro.
that's the only thing I would use it for is just IET.
Yeah. And I don't think they use it. When they have to, it's like a scramble. It's like, I need this done by next week, and I have to go in and make sure it all works.
Yeah.
Because like you, it's been 2 years since I used it,
Mhm.
and the tool has been changed, the website links have been changed and all that. So yes, you're not the only one with issues with that.
Good.
But if you do need help, in the instructions, there's links to call up and ask them.
Yeah.
They're usually pretty good,
Okay.
getting back. Okay, any other questions? We are done, and I am done with all my sessions. Bye, guys.
Thank you.